Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Justin Wolf from Wolf Customs. We are out here at the river this weekend, just getting out, getting a little training in, and just getting some time away. I think that's important. I am here tonight with Travis Henry from Survive Without, as well as David Robertson from AnAmericanWarningTV. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Travis Henry from Survive Without. You guys probably know me from Wolf Customs Facebook group. I usually spend a lot of time on there answering questions or just keeping up with the other people. I do a lot of outdoor videos, outdoor survival and bushcrafting.
And I'm David Robertson from AnAmericanWarningTV. Well, let's see, the easiest way to wrap this up is I'm a researcher. I do a lot of study about trends and projections as far as where the world and perhaps the country is, and talk about how that impacts you on a personal level. A lot of different things to cover, obviously, but I don't know. It's a big hodgepodge of ideas and things of that nature. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to start the topic off a little bit light, I guess. So I have a question for you guys. You know, oftentimes when people get around campfires and everything else, we tell stories and all that good stuff. So let me ask you, David, what is one of the coolest or maybe the craziest or even the scariest thing that you've ever encountered while you were camping, hiking, whatever?
Wow. I can think of a lot of things. Obviously, the coolest part for me is being out with you guys, because I love to learn. You guys know that. And it just seems like every time we go out, undoubtedly, there is something that I'm learning. I learned, we were 10 minutes into setting up camp, and I had already learned a couple new ideas that changed everything in the way that I'm going to camp. But you know, I think about one of the scariest things was a long time ago. I actually got lost in the desert, and it almost turned into. And see, that's the thing. It wasn't necessarily camping, but it turned into a survival situation. I was very young, and I had kind of wandered off, and I had crossed over one too many hills, and I got lost. I got turned around because the sun was directly above me, and I kept walking rather than hunkering down and waiting. I got completely turned around. I wandered the mountains of Arizona for over 8 hours, just walking aimlessly. And it got to the point, this is the most amazing thing, and I don't know how to explain this. This is the coolest, scariest, creepiest moment, I think, and it'll affect me for the rest of my life, because I will never come across this type of luck ever again. I was walking and I was lost and I was losing hope and I was scared. I was crying, and I was dehydrated. I was running out of energy, everything. I mean, I just hope I was running out of it. And as I was walking, all of a sudden I see this, and I'm on a mountain. Okay, and this is what makes it equally crazy. I see this trail of water, like muddy water thing on this mountain, and I continue to follow it, because at this point, like I said, I'm scared. I have no idea where I'm at. I was somewhere on the Apache reservation, just wandering aimlessly. Well, I would say aimlessly. I was looking for home or some sort of sign of life. But I saw this trail of water, and I followed the water, and eventually I came across what looked like a natural spring that had just sprung open. It was at the top of this part of the mountain, and you know, if there's water for an extended period of time, you have erosion from the dirt, right? Well, this didn't have that. I mean, it was literally just out of nowhere, this water bubbling up from the top. And it was, I have no idea how to explain it. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it, but it was amazing. And I I was able to put my face down as it was bubbling up and drink this water. and it didn't come at a moment too soon or too late. It was perfect timing. So I sat there for a while. I was able to regain my strength and continue on, and I eventually found the old trail, which led me back to my house. But I have no idea how to explain that. It saved my life, I'm convinced, and I've never even heard of something similar like that before. And maybe you guys know more about what that possibly could have been, but holy cow.
I think that was Mother Nature smiling down on you is what I think that was.
Yeah.
She was saying, you know what, you've had enough, buddy. Here, have a drink. Jeez, man, that's a heck of a story, because that would be rough. What was the temperatures?
Well, let's see. That would have been at least 105 midday, Arizona in early summer. And it was funny too, because saying this is what the problem was. At that time, let me put it this way. At that time, this was many years ago, obviously, you could tell your mom, hey, I'm going to go do something, and it was like, okay, go have fun, don't kill yourself. There wasn't the kind of oversight that we have with our children today. So I was leaving church. I was like, I'm just going to walk home. And I think I was mad at my brother. So I'm like, I'm going to walk home. All right, well, just don't be late. And I'm like, okay. So I did. I walked home, and I was like, oh, what'd be cool is I can look at the town over on the hill. I'll just follow the hills home to the house. And I walked over the hill, and I got turned around because the sun was up top. Had no idea which was north, south, east, or west. Completely got lost. And it was the scariest, dumbest thing I ever did in my life. But I learned a lot out of that, honestly. I learned, don't move. Well, I thought I learned, don't move when the sun is directly above you. Because you can get turned around. Which I would relearn that lesson later on in Georgia, which I think we talked about in a prior episode. But the second one too was to know where civilization's at. Don't walk away if you don't have the tools, or unless you are equipped. I mean, have some sort of plan.
So basically, I mean, it kind of that experience kind of may have had a lot to do with who you are today and the beliefs that you have today when it comes to outdoor living or outdoor skills and everything else, I should say. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, from that point on, I was always trying to acquire information about how to survive in different environments. Now, I learned a lot about like how to survive in the desert. And that's years of study and things of that nature. I figured out that I was actually surrounded by water, but didn't know how to get to it. But now I know, and there was a lot of cacti out there. Obviously, I was surrounded by water, but I didn't know it at that age, and now I do. But yeah, you're right. It changed. It's a life-changing event when you feel like you're close to death and nature is about to take it from you. That's true. I think we've all had that kind of, or we've all at least had some sort of experience that will lead us into being the people that we are, or the person that we are, and who we become. I had something that was kind of similar when I was young, and it's kind of funny because how you mentioned that it wasn't out of the norm for a kid to go off and do their own thing back then, which it really wasn't. Nowadays, I would never let my kid, run off and do things on her own, but the times have changed. And I can remember going hunting one time, and, I was going pheasant hunting. There was about a foot of snow on the ground. It was very cold. And I was probably no more than 2 miles away from my house. And my dog at the time, went down on point. She kicked this rooster up, and I never should have taken the shot because it was very windy. I think in the back of my mind, I knew if I shot that rooster where he was going to go, but I was young, I was stupid, and I took the shot anyway, and the wind took that rooster out right on the middle of a pond. Well, my dog instinctively, went out to go retrieve the bird, fell through the pond. I panicked, put my gun down. I didn't crawl out. I didn't grab a branch or anything like that to distribute my weight because I didn't know. My grandfather always tried to preach to me about different things, but I was a kid. You know, we don't listen. So I go out to get my dog. I fall through the ice as well. It wasn't that deep, you know, it was only about waist deep or whatever, but deep enough to be cold, right? So I get the dog out, I start walking home. And like I said, I was only about 2 miles, but I mean, it just seemed like I was no more than 50 feet and I was just freezing my ass off, you know? And everything that my grandfather had preached to me about hunting and being safe and being able to take care of yourself, having things that you needed to take care of yourself, kind of all came full circle at that moment. And that was probably the longest walk of my life. And I honestly didn't think I was going to make it. But I did. And it has definitely been one of the things that has made me who I am today and believe the way that I believe and practice outdoor skills the way I practice them now.
Well, I don't really have a story quite similar to that, but I recently got back from Sigma 3, as you guys know, and at Sigma 3 I learned quite a bit about myself. And I believe in training. You know, you need to train in order to be prepared for these situations that may come up, like Justin just mentioned or David just did. And the whole time I was out there, I slept in a debris shelter, and it really, at first it plays with your mind, and but after a while you become comfortable with it. One night I can remember sleeping out there, and it was just a leaf shelter. Everything was just compiled over top of you, and I had a door plug on the end of it. I thought I heard something coming in the shelter, and of course you're confined in this thing, so your mind's playing tricks with you. It sounds like it's like a big animal coming inside the shelter, maybe like a raccoon or something like that. So I quickly switched on my headlamp and found out it was just a little field mouse.
But it has huge teeth.
But it just sounds so big in such a confined space, and you know, you worry about those things.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever heard an armadillo?
Oh yeah.
Those things, when they come through your camp at night, they sound like a freaking elephant.
Exactly.
They're just such a little bitty thing too. It's funny.
Your mind plays huge tricks on you.
Oh, your mind is your worst enemy. That's for sure.
Yeah, it can be your best friend or your worst enemy. There's no doubt about that.
You know, I don't mind camping solo by myself. If I'm at camp, sitting around the fire, or not even with the fire, but you know, hanging out, getting ready to go to bed, I don't mind it. You know, my mind doesn't really bother me too much. But it's when I find that it bothers me or starts to kick up is when you're out moving around in the forest when it's pitch black, you know?
Yeah.
It's like every year when I set my my trap line, you know, I get up real early when the sun hasn't even started to come up, and I go out and I start checking my trap line. And just moving around on this river, you know, here, when you're going through the trees and everything else, you know, it'd be dead quiet, and then all of a sudden something jump up right in front of you, a deer or something like that. Or I've had it happen when I reached over to grab, you know, a coney bear out of the water. I had a beaver slap the water with its tail, literally just like feet away. Scared the crap out of me, about fell in the water. But it's just kind of funny that your mind will play tricks on you more so when you're up and moving around, or at least for me it does.
Well, that's interesting too. I mean, you think about the mind, and you know, I value the idea of being, you know, intellectual, the ability to think, and you know, that's, I think, the importance of kinship. I think it's the importance of I think it's the importance of working together and training together. Because even though we train together, or we talk about the issues together, undoubtedly at some point in time we're going to be in a position where we're going to be by ourselves, and through training, kind of like what you were talking about, Travis, the training is the important part, and you got to practice like you play.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just like, if you're a fighter, it takes 1,500 repetitions for you to really, truly understand one move. You know what I mean? 1,500 repetitions before it becomes more of a muscle memory, where your body just reacts versus you telling your body to react.
Right.
So that whole you practice how you want to perform is absolutely true. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think that's vital. We talk about a lot of times the issue, like why we're going to have to, why is woodcraft or bushcraft or, camping or survival, whatever you want to call it, why is that important? Why is it important to get out and train? Why is it important to get away and be with buddies? It's so you know how each other's going to react. You're going to be able to play off of each other. You're going to know what the other one's thinking. You're going to be able to strengthen your weaknesses, train others with maybe some ideas that you hadn't thought about. And then that's what I always find so neat. Sometimes because you guys are definitely experts, when it comes to woodcraft.
Damn sure ain't no expert.
Well, but see, here's the thing, and I appreciate you saying that you're not an expert, but you are. But see, and here's the beauty of that is there's always room to learn, and what I always find amazing is because you guys are leaps and bounds, in my opinion, leaps and bounds beyond where I'm at. And I still find it unique that even still you guys continue to seek ways to learn from me when we do this.
Well, you can learn something from everybody.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I learn, you know who I learn a lot from? My daughter. My daughter's only 6 years old and I learn tons from her. And you know why? Because children have a way of simplifying things. They always look for the easiest way. The way that is rational. It makes sense to them. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so there'll be times that I'm doing something and my daughter will be like, "Daddy, what are you doing?" And I'll tell her and she'll look at me kind of funny and I'll be like, "What's wrong?" She's like, "Well, why don't you do it like this?" And it's like, well, duh. Thanks, baby girl. Why don't you hang out with Dad a little bit more often when I'm doing these kind of things?
You want your own channel?
Yeah, exactly. We can't give her that. She already steals the spotlight on this one as it is. Yeah. But I don't know. Going back to the whole your mind playing tricks on you and everything else, and taking everything serious that we do, you have to, because sometimes you find yourself in some sort of situation, or maybe you never find yourself in a situation, or maybe it's an oddball situation that you never thought that you would ever be in. I think back, I want to say about 12, 13 years ago, me and my uncle, we were actually scouting turkey because we, wow, fireworks just went off over there. I bet you that was on film too. But anyway, me and my uncle, we were out scouting turkey because turkey season was getting ready to open. And I was on a river, not this one, and I had a fishing pole in because we were trying to, catch dinner. And all of a sudden, my uncle just goes, "Bubba," because he calls me Bubba. And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Come here." And so I go up there to him, and I'm like, "What's up?" He goes, "Look." I look, and out in the middle of this field is this guy walking across the field in a frickin' Santa Claus suit. Okay? This is spring, right? not only was this guy carrying a or wearing a Santa Claus suit, he was carrying a baby, or what looked like a baby. He had it wrapped up and he was cradling it just like you would a newborn baby, right? So we're watching this guy and wondering what the hell's this guy's problem, right? Well, he gets to the tree line. He takes this, what looks to be a baby, sets it on the ground, looks at it, and then stomps on it. Both me and my uncle freaked out, okay? I told my uncle, I said, you stay here, keep eyes on him. We had two-way radios, okay, which was awesome in this particular situation. I told him to keep eyes on him, and I flanked the guy. I took the tree line around, and I tried to get around him. I got to the place where he stomped the baby, and I seen him. He had left the tree line, and just on the other side of the tree line was an old mobile home, and that's where he went in, okay? So I went to try to find whatever it was that he put on the ground, and as I approached it, sure enough, it looked like a child wrapped up in a blanket, but as I pulled it away, it was a plastic doll.
That's a sigh of relief.
No kidding. I was never so relieved in all my life. But the thing is, what kind of crazy individual was this that was walking through this field doing this? You know what I mean? And was he acting out something? Okay, so think about that for a second. What if what if we were out in that field and we came face to face with this kind of individual? You know what I mean? Just, I don't know, sometimes when your mind plays tricks with you, or you hear things, sometimes your mind might not be necessarily playing tricks on you. You know, it might legitimately be something. Well, it's no different than this camp trip right here. I was supposed to come down here and camp by myself yesterday, right? So I get down here and I start setting up camp, and all of a sudden I look over and there's Travis peeking out behind a tree. I had no idea he was going to be down here. I had an idea that he might come, but I didn't think he was going to come until, today. I didn't think he was going to show up last night, It was, so anyway, I'm kind of rambling now.
Well, the idea of, I think you bring up an interesting point too. The ability and the necessity to, evaluate decisions as you make them, looking at what you are faced with. Because imagine, all right, so like that Santa situation, imagine if you just went off the idea that you thought it was a baby and went and did something to the person.
Exactly.
That'd be a really bad situation. Or not doing something because you think it's crazy, and then it turns out that it is a baby. I mean, you have to boldly question everything, your decisions, what you're doing. But it's the important part, I think, is having enough context built up, enough training, if you will, built up to where you have a really strong idea that the decisions that you're making are a good one.
And I think that Travis doing that that class is really vital to being able to do that.
Yeah.
I've noticed a huge change in Travis when it comes to being out here. He thinks about things very quickly. He's crisp in his thought process, or how he's going to do something and everything else. Whereas, I might be a little sluggish at times. He's on his game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that class was great.
Well, and it's funny, when you think about that, I mean, let's kind of turn the tables here a little bit, because in a situation, I mean, yeah, we're out here training, we're out here, trying to, I want to say perfect our skills, but improve our skills. But why are we doing this? Okay, so there's a million reasons. There's a million reasons we can think of, and be it economic collapse, which, I would say the chances or the odds of that are extremely high. World War, which I would say that the opportunity for that is increasing by the day. I mean, for crying out loud, I've been talking about the Russians for a very long time, since before 2004, and what are we seeing this week?
Them flying closer and closer to Alaska with bombers.
Yeah, strategic bombers breaching United States airspace over
that
10
carry
times
nuclear
in 2
arms.
weeks. Yeah, breaching our airspace 2 times or 10 times in 2 weeks. Yes, the opportunity is definitely increasing, especially with the idea of economic collapse and economic turmoil, and the situation with Iraq and ISIS, and there's a million different things. And then let's go ahead and throw in the idea of disease coming up from the border or being flown in courtesy of the federal government. Diseases that have never been on this continent, they fly it in, and then the government says, well, the spread of it to this continent was inevitable. Well, yeah, when you're bringing it here, yeah, it's inevitable.
Travis and I was just talking about that literally today. And you know what that whole scene on the news reminded me of? It was a scene from a freaking horror movie.
Yeah.
Tell me that that's not true. That's how it all starts. You watch some zombie movie or something like that. How does it start? It always starts with one person being infected on a freaking ambulance. You know what I mean? They pull him off on a gurney. They rush him into some place. They're all in hazmat suits and everything else. Something happens. The virus gets out. Everybody gets infected.
Yeah.
That was exactly how that looked. It looked like a freaking scene from a horror movie.
Yeah, and it's dumb. You think about it. Okay, so you have Ebola. You've got, how many, there were 4 cases of plague, the worst type of plague you can get, out of Colorado just a few weeks ago. You've got the craziest diseases that we shouldn't have here that are being imported. Yeah, there's potential for chaos. There's potential for civil unrest. There's potential for war. I can think of a million reasons why somebody should be training to survive outside of a city center, and there's really not a whole lot of reason I can think of to not at this point. And
even for the sheer enjoyment, I think you should do it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Even getting away from all the fears that we have in this world, these days. Just getting out and enjoying it, I think is absolutely important too.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I know it's kind of like Travis and I were talking about earlier. I feel like it's a privilege to be out here with my buddies and, learning, and because I'm a sucker for learning. I love to learn anything I can possibly learn. But you're right, taking the time to be with chums, man,
Well, it's deep-rooted inside of us. It's in our hearts, it's in our souls, it's in everybody's hearts and souls, whether or not they want to admit it or not. I explained it to you a little bit the other day through a mess or an email or a text, I can't remember what. But I always explain it to people like this. If you take the entire existence of man from the moment we existed up to now, okay? You take the entire existence of man and put it in a 200-page book, okay? Modern man is literally on page 197. So, where was we the rest of the book? We were here. We were living in the wilderness in small tribal communities. You know what I mean? That's how we're still hardwired. We're not hardwired yet for big city living. That's why there's so much depression. That's why there's so many problems. I don't think that we're hardwired yet for it. Now we're evolving, sure. A lot of people think that autism is a form of us evolving to be able to deal with the big lights of, say, New York or something like that, you know? Now, whether or not it's true, I don't know. But it's just something to think about.
I know when I'm out here, I always feel like I hit the reset button after spending at least a weekend out.
Yeah, you needed it.
Oh yeah.
You could tell how badly, you know, you was. I mean, last weekend when I seen you, you was just, you could tell that you was just not in a good state. And that's why, when I knew that I was going to be coming out here, I told you that you really needed to try to get away.
Oh yeah, I went straight
it.
from the 40 days of just being out. I mean, I felt extremely comfortable and had all kinds of energy from staying out. And as soon as I got back, I just went straight to working literally every day. And it sure changed me. I know it sounds silly.
Sucking the life force out of me.
It felt like it. It has. It really has. I mean.
See, but isn't that amazing that, you know, we work, we do all this stuff, and then when we get closer to how we're supposed to be, how we were meant to be it through diet, be it through just being closer to nature and away from, you know, all that electricity and electromagnetic fields and, you know, whatever. I mean, we feel better. We feel better. We
eat better.
We eat better. Yeah.
Sleep better.
Sleep better. Man, I slept so freaking good last night, it wasn't even funny. I haven't slept that good in a long time. I don't think an earthquake would have woke me up last night.
You were snoring good.
I bet.
I think that's the importance. I mean, here's the deal. I mean, once again, I think there's a lot of reasons why you should get out and train and practice and in my opinion and based on my assessment, I think that these skills are going to be extremely necessary very soon. Imagine for a second that Ebola does break out, or plague, or any of these other monster bugs that can decimate an entire community. Would you want to sit in that community?
No, not at all.
Never.
No, so your options are to go to a different community, which it'll probably reach there anyway, or go someplace where you can be closer to nature and survive.
Or not. There is that.
Sure, but you have a chance. I mean, it's like you're sitting in a den full of snakes and you have the door open. Are you going to go out the door? Are you going to sit in there with all the snakes that are going to... I mean, it just seems dumb for me to sit there when this is disease. It's like, all right, hey, zombies are breaking out all over in your neighborhood. Oh, okay, I'm going to chill out here for a little bit. Why?
Right.
Why would you do that? You know, well, what else am I going to do? Well, go to the river. Go someplace where there's not people.
But see, that's what we, you know, when we're out here doing what we're doing right now, I think that's why it's important that we do it. Because like you said earlier, you need to practice how you want to perform.
It's getting comfortable with it, really.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what it is for me. You get peace with your mind. You start to learn that the little bumps that you hear out in the woods, you learn exactly what are making those noises.
Exactly. You know that it's
fear them no more.
You know it's an armadillo and not, you know, Sasquatch.
Or a raccoon. Or...
Exactly.
Well, let's look at it as a more basic situation. You find out that economic collapse is about to occur. People are starting to line up at the banks and the grocery stores, and you know, all of a sudden riots are occurring, or maybe World War II is breaking out, or whatever. City centers are being locked down. You've got checkpoints. I mean, whatever the situation is. And you think to yourself, wow, I need to get out of here. So you grab your stuff, you get out to the woods, and realize you haven't camped in over 12 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And guess what? Now you're still going to die. But you're going to die very slow. You're going to die either of dehydration, hypothermia, starvation, You know, you're going to die.
Yeah.
If you're Mr. Joe Blow couch potato that doesn't get out and do this kind of stuff, you're going to die.
Yeah.
Even ourselves that come out here and do this kind of thing quite frequently, we can still die. We can still starve to death. You know?
Starve to death, freeze to death, get sick and
something.
die.
I think the knowledge will help you with that, though.
It does. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's like some people take a lot of medication all the time.
Yeah.
And I think your eating habits could change that, because your food can be your medicine. I mean,
Absolutely.
Well, David's a prime example of that.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Hippocrates. Let food be your medicine and let medicine be your food.
Wow, say that again. Seriously, say that again.
Let food be your medicine and let medicine be your food.
Huh, interesting.
It's a very, very old. In fact, it was the guy who said that was the guy who said that all disease starts in your gut. And here we are a couple thousand years later, and we're starting to discover that most all disease starts in your gut. Be it the fact that your body's defenses are pulled down because you're not eating right, your immune system is dysfunctioning because you don't have the proper macronutrient or whatever. Yeah, way ahead of his time. But no, I mean seriously, so you come out of nowhere, you drop in, you haven't camped in 12 years, you don't know how to start a fire without a Bic lighter, don't know how to filter water, don't have the tools necessary to filter water, even if you wanted to do it the easy way.
Oh, but you can boil water, remember?
Yeah.
But here's the thing that everybody forgets about boiling the water. What happens when you boil your water? What do you take out of the water?
Important stuff.
All the minerals, right? You pretty much make it distilled water. So if you're drinking constantly distilled water, are you drinking water? What are you doing? You're still going to get very sick at some point. You know what I mean? So you have to have some way to replace those minerals, or you have to figure out a way to get water. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, like Travis, when he was doing his course, he said some of the best water he had was from a grapevine.
Absolutely.
So there you go. You found water that is completely safe to drink and is packed full of everything that you need.
I could feel the difference almost, while I was out there, because I didn't have much to eat at the time. I was eating just what I could scavenge off the ground. It was a big diet change for me.
Did that feel better for you?
I did, absolutely. I felt refreshed.
And then you come back and start eating the standard American diet?
Actually, I was telling Justin not too long ago, it was very interesting, because during that 40-day class, I completely changed my entire diet. And I felt amazing. I really did. I mean, I can't explain it, to be honest with you. And I got back, and my wife wanted to go out of town, and inadvertently she asked what I wanted to eat, and I decided I wanted Subway, and she said that she was going to go to McDonald's. And I decided, well, I'll just eat where you're eating, so we don't have to go to two different places and waste time, because we're always worried about time management.
Convenience.
And of course, I ordered a double quarter pounder. And I'll be honest with you, I took one bite and I didn't eat the rest. It tastes like cardboard. After all those days of not eating fast food, it literally, I couldn't even, it had no flavor. It was nasty.
Well, think about the acronyms for standard American diet. SAD.
It's what?
SAD.
What's it? Okay, so.
Standard American
Oh,
diet.
okay.
It's sad.
Wow.
And it's true though. I mean, it's killing people.
Sure.
And once again, all right. So you talk about diet, training, and stuff like that. Well, eating the way you eat is no different than getting out here and training, because you're training your body what to do. So if you're eating junk out of convenience, then you're losing skill by doing that in of itself. Because when you get out, what are you looking for? You're not going to have McDonald's, you're not going to have Subway, you're not going to have all this other stuff in nature.
Right.
So if you're not used to eating protein in its purest form, if you're not used to eating vegetables in its purest form, your body's gonna take a while to adjust to that. You're gonna be eating real food for the first time in a very long time. There's gonna be an adjustment period, and it's not gonna be comfortable.
No, I can tell you from some of my experiences while I was out there, one of the hardest things for me was adjusting from, at least when I'm at home, I usually ate salads that were just the chopped greens, they look that real pale color. The cheap salad that you can go get it in the grocery stores. That's the kind of salad I used to, and then piling on the ranch or whatever. I ain't kidding you, seriously.
No,
I mean,
know.
to disguise anything. And then when I went out there, I learned how to eat different greens off the landscape, and the taste was so different. I mean, it was so different. And what I had done to prep myself during the class while I was going through that was I would go get salad on the weekends, like on a Sunday when they allowed you to leave and go get something else to eat. I'd get a salad, and I went ahead and got the more expensive organic salads, that had the spinach in it, and it's just like their spring mix, I think is what they call it. And I started trying to lessen the amount of ranch dressing that I added to it, and I noticed something almost immediately once I started doing that, is that the salad tastes more like the wild edibles that I was eating while I was out there. And it really did. It changed everything for me. And at least if you could start backing off on the ranch, and start eating that salad whole without the dressing, your palate will more adjust to the natural foods that you would eat out.
Well, and so the intestinal bacteria as well. I mean, a lot of people have a lot of intestinal discomfort when they start eating, when they first switch over into a more natural diet, because they haven't been eating. They haven't been eating the way that they should. So the adjustment period is very, very rough. Digestion takes a little while to change. People, when they're eating all this empty carbs and all the stuff that they're stuffing their face with, and then all of a sudden they're eating something real, the body says, wait a second, I want more of that. Okay, when the body says, I want more of that, all of a sudden you're hungry all the time for that one thing, because your body's like, wait, I need this, I need more of it. Well, if you're eating all this real stuff, you're actually hungry less. But that takes a time of adjustment, But the point is, you got to train like you play, and that includes your diet, that includes your habits, that includes all of that stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And, just sitting here talking about this, it really makes you think, are you practicing how you're supposed to play? And, sometimes I'm guilty of, not. Especially when it comes to eating. You know what I mean? There's a big bowl of ice cream in front of me. I'm going to eat it. You know
That's
what I mean?
what I was asking for today.
And,
yeah, you were. That's
I look over to that tree line over there. Let's say that I'm put out here permanently. I am forced out of my home. Am I going to find a bowl of ice cream over there? No, not. So, should we eat that? No. It's very simple. If you find it in nature, it's probably safe to eat. Yeah. If you don't find it in nature, don't eat it.
Yeah, rule
It's very
thumb.
simple, right?
If your ancestors wouldn't recognize it as food, don't eat it.
It makes perfect sense. It's very simple.
Yeah.
And even, you even talk about, you go to a fine restaurant right now and order a steak. That steak comes to you, it's nice and thick and juicy, and it's all marbled and everything else, just looks and tastes perfection, right? But you're eating a sick cow. You know what? Your meat's not supposed to be marbled. It's not supposed to be full of fat. That's a grain-fed cow that was probably fed cow on top of it. You need to be eating grass-fed cows. The meat's more lean. You get less of those marbling. You get less fat. Yeah. I'm going to be the first to admit it does not taste as good. I love frickin' fat on my steak. I do. That's where all the flavor is for me. But it's not healthy, and it's damn sure not good for you.
Well, and It's like this. If you wouldn't eat grain, your food shouldn't eat grain either.
Amen.
If you're not going to take antibiotics like crazy, your food shouldn't take antibiotics like crazy. You are what you eat, and what you eat is what they eat.
Well, people don't understand what antibiotics are.
Yeah, true.
Explain real quick what an antibiotic is.
Antibiotic, by definition, is anti-life. It kills. The scary part is, death blooms. So if you have something inside of your body that has been killed, something else has to come in and take it away. And that's why women get yeast infections after they take antibiotics, because the fungus comes to take away the dead bacteria that is now just lingering in your intestines. And ladies and gentlemen, let me say this too. When I talk about diet, you have to understand that I'm not just saying, well, yeah, you should do this, and then it's one of those things where, it's do as I say, not as I do. No, I'm not. This is not a do as I say, not as I do situation. I will not give you advice that I do not practice myself on a daily basis. Period.
And I can vouch for that. I don't know that I've ever been around anybody that's more dedicated to their diet than you are.
I think it's important because your diet can, and for those of you who watch my show, I think you have a pretty strong indication on how important I find it to be to think. The ability to think. I hold that in probably the highest regard. And there are foods that stop that ability, or hinder it, or even retard it. But there are also foods that can make you think better. That's why I always drink tea.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that think that coffee or tea is not necessarily good for you, which is completely false. Both of those things they are good for you in moderation. Nothing is good for you if you water can kill you if you drink too much of it.
Right.
So,
Well, and coffee's not bad. It depends on how it was grown. It depends on all the crap you're putting in it. If you drink coffee the way coffee was meant to
exactly.
be,
I don't mean Starbucks and put a whole shit.
Justin said coffee was fine. We're going to Starbucks.
Okay, let's talk about coffee for a second. When I say coffee is good for you, I mean coffee. I'm not talking how I drink coffee with 2 freaking spoons of sugar in it. I'm talking just dark black coffee, just plain coffee, nothing in it.
A little Kahlua.
Yeah, exactly.
And real tea too. Heck, real tea is it's a brain stimulant.
Absolutely.
In fact, they think that they attribute the Enlightenment, the Scottish Enlightenment, the English Enlightenment, if you will, on the mass consumption of tea.
Do you know what else is I find interesting? Do you know what another item is that they contribute to enlightenment and are the mass growth of the human brain? The mushrooms that grow on cow crap. Research that sometime. It's very, very fascinating. Now I'm here to tell you I'm not going to go out and eat no damn mushrooms on cow crap. But
hey, you know what? Different types of fungus are amazing.
Yeah.
One of the best. Oh, I love this. All right, so you guys know I don't eat grain, but I will eat fungi. I have no problem with that. So sometimes when I have a burger, instead of bread, I'll use mushrooms. Like those big, thick portobello type mushrooms as my bun.
That would probably be really freaking good.
It is delicious. You take the bun, you got the meat, and I don't eat a whole lot of dairy. I do eat a little bit of dairy, but not a whole lot. mainly in slices of Swiss type cheese and kefir. But put that on there. I don't use like condiments like ketchup and mustard and stuff like that. But
okay, so do you prepare the portobello in any way?
a little bit. I'll spice it up and then.
Can't you grill that and it tastes like steak also?
Yeah,
because remember you were the one that
yeah, I did that one
gave
time.
me portobello.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it does. It tastes just like steak.
So good.
It's very good, and it's very natural.
I never thought of that. I am so gonna try that.
It's delicious, and it's very natural and it's very filling. Literally, if you use a top and a bottom for like the bun, you put the beef in there, and then once again, you don't need condiment. This is the most tasteful. This is so tasty, and it's so filling, and you're full for a long time, and you're a negative caloric intake, which means that your body's gonna soak up more of the nutrient, and it's gonna take so much energy to burn that. You're actually gonna look and feel better after having eaten it. I mean, it's amazing how that works.
Well, you know what a condiment is anyway, right? It's nothing more than a disguise for horrible food.
Right?
You know, it's like if I'm at a steak restaurant and someone asks me if I want any A1, what? Are you telling me your steak's horrible? Get the hell out of here with that A1. Ain't gonna cover up a good steak. Come on now. So why would you want to do the exact same thing to a good burger?
Hey,
smother it in ketchup and mustard.
Here's a weird question for you guys. Okay, so what do you call sticking, let's say, berries with a little bit of sugar and blending it up? What would you call that?
A little bit of berries.
Yeah, some
and
berries
sugar?
or sugars, and you blend it up.
I don't know, a smoothie, I guess.
Smoothie. You could do the same with a banana, right?
Right.
So why isn't ketchup considered a smoothie? It's a fruit. You put sugar with it.
There you go.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm gonna go have me a smoothie.
That's funny.
Anyway.
You just had a whole bunch of people yell at you right then, right? It's not a fruit, it's a vegetable. That's funny.
No, that's the funny. See, and that's the thing. I mean, tomatoes are a fruit.
Yeah, I know.
Corn is a grain. But it's you know, and I don't eat grains, so. But anyway, that's.
God, that'd be. If I had to give up grain, I would have a huge problem with it. I really would. I love bread and I love corn, you know?
Yeah.
But it's horrible for me. And I know that I need to give it up. I really do, because the older I get, the less my body likes it. You know? Yeah. Let's be honest.
Well, it's funny, you know, I thought the same thing when I first got away from all that. And I thought, man, you know, there's so much I'm going to miss. There's so much that I'm not even going to be able to go out to dinner.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? And I'll never meet somebody, because what am I going to do? Go out on a date, meet nothing? That's great. You know, there were so many questions and so many doubts. And it turns out, and I've been doing it for a long time now, I don't even miss it. And I eat that way when I go out all the time. All the time. There's not a restaurant I can't go to. Well, I mean, of course I don't go to McDonald's and stuff like that, but you know, the restaurants I do go to, I mean, I can eat like that all the time. I mean, there's just really, I don't miss it.
If you think about it, the grains are basically just a filler.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, bread, we're just soaking it up, or, you know, rice, or just, I don't know.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're soaking it up, and ultimately what's happening is all the nutrient and minerals and vitamins and all the stuff that you need from your food, this bread is soaking it up and pushing it out. So you're not really getting an opportunity to digest it anyway.
Well, you don't really digest your food properly anyway. You do, okay, you do, but I don't, you know. I used to, but you got that film that's on the inside of your digestion line and everything else where you can't even absorb your nutrients anyway.
Yeah, the biofilms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the biofilm's actually set up from the bacteria. So if you don't feed the bacteria correctly, wow, we have gone from training to lesson on food. That's so funny.
I can't believe that 55 minutes already passed.
Oh my goodness, has it really been almost an hour?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to
cut
this off here pretty quick.
Hey, but we're having fun.
Exactly.
Yeah,
hopefully everybody listening is.
Well, and it's important, I think, and I guess the point is, I mean, to kind of make the thing not so long-winded, is obviously the practice, and practice how you play, and that goes for food, that goes for camping, that goes for your bug out plans, that goes for everything, and it is practice. It's like today, the test for the bug out bag or bug out bike.
Yeah. It was a good test for it.
Yeah.
It worked great, right?
Absolutely.
But that's the thing. How many people have their bug out bags or get home bags or whatever it is, that they have? How many of them spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on all this gear, getting it all together, and never use it once? They never take it out and use it once. You know what I mean? Nothing infuriates me more than when I see a video of someone talking about their stuff and it's nice and shiny.
Yeah.
Because they've never used it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I seen a lot of gear fail when I was on my class. It was amazing.
Yeah, you was telling me about that.
You'd be blown away. Even high dollar gear. Never would have
you got to get out there and use it. You also got to learn how to repair it too.
Knives are huge nowadays. You see on a lot of online forums where there's trade groups and everything else, and people will be trading their knives. And most of the knives I see are brand new, shiny knives.
Yeah.
And that just right there, if that doesn't tell you people are not using their gear,
nothing
my
does.
Every single knife I've ever traded on that group, I tell them straight up, look, you can see the picture. This thing has been used. You know what I mean? The blade is still perfectly sharp, and there ain't no nicks or anything like that in it. But I've used the hell out of this knife. That's just the way it is. My gear is not supposed to be pretty. I'm going to use the hell out of it, because if it doesn't work when I'm camping, how is it going to ever work if, the shit hits the fan?
Well, yeah, and that's like, okay, so the new hammock. I've got my handy dandy hammock, the one that I know works and is comfortable, and I love it. Mm-hmm. Well, tonight I'm trying out the new hammock, just because. You got to try out your gear, and you got to practice like you play, ladies and gentlemen. It's so important, and you got to use your mind. Think about worst case scenario. It's not depressing. It's not, doom and gloom. It's being smart.
Yeah, you use. See, and that's another thing that ticks me off is people, will ridicule people like us. Why do you ridicule people like us? If you're going to ridicule us, then take your spare tire off your vehicle. Take your jumper cables out, okay? All the food in your pantry that you've prepared for this week, get rid of it. You don't need any of that, okay?
Right.
So what's the difference of being prepared there and being prepared here? There is no difference. But for some reason, there are people out there that will ridicule, you for being that way. And I think that's silly.
Yeah, no doubt. And then that's the funny thing. Yeah, why even have a 10-gallon tank?
Exactly.
Why are you preparing to go more than 10 miles? I mean...
Exactly.
Why would you go that far?
Why do you have another roll of toilet paper? You only need one.
Right.
God, how dare you think
might
ahead.
go to the bathroom next week. You may not even be alive next week. Why prepare for that? That's weird. So, I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's important. Definitely something to consider. And guys, once again, just like Travis said, I think it's what
the storm's coming in. You don't pick all your times of just nice, clear, sunny weekends to go camping and practice.
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
Travis and I mean, what was it? We've went on a couple times when we knew the weather was going to get really crappy.
But be prepared for it too.
That's right. We knew that it was not going to be fun, but we went anyway because you have to.
You learn a lot.
You have to.
You mean like tonight? That storm is going to be intense tonight.
I just got done seeing a shooting star just a minute ago, actually, too. It was kind of neat.
I think that's actually one of my favorite videos we've ever done, Travis, was last year when we had that ice storm.
When it just completely iced over and
yeah,
snowed in
and then snowed. I mean, we went to bed and it was that looked like this.
Yeah.
You know, and then when we woke up, you know, it was completely snowed over and
Oh
everything.
man, it's so awesome when we woke up too. There was barely any footprints in the snow. You know, it's just freshly down.
Yeah.
We seen some coyote tracks right near her. That was so awesome.
But that night we experienced some major weather changes. You know,
Absolutely.
we went from nice clear skies to ice
Yeah.
to wind to snow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think about people that don't get out and do this kind of stuff. You put them in that kind of situation, they're going to panic.
Absolutely.
Because they are not going to know what to do.
Well, their body's used to that constant temperature all the time too.
Yeah.
Right.
Really, I mean, you get out here, I think your skin cells change to adapt to the different environments.
Well, yeah, I mean, some people aren't used to sleeping in 60, 70 degree weather, or humidity, or with wind blowing over their face, or with crickets in distraction. I don't know. I find it peaceful, but
I sleep so much better out here. It feels like you're just sucking up so much more oxygen.
yeah, that's true.
You just sleep so much better.
Well, I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, I think it's important to experience it, man. And you also, too, I think it's important to get out here and do this, because you got to know what this is all for. You got to know what fighting is, what the fighting is worth. What are you fighting for? What are you struggling for? What's the point? What's the purpose? Well, when you're out here enjoying time with friends or family, and you're in a part of your state that isn't overrun with concrete, it changes perspective.
Exactly.
So,
And I think with that, I am going to wrap it up. But I want you guys to do me a favor. I want you to check out both Travis and David's channels. And I will definitely put a link in the description box where you can find both of them channels. You will learn a lot. So anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed it. As always, have a good one.